Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the President and CEO of the Children's National Medical Center, Dr. Kurt Newman.
Thank you and good evening. It is an absolute honor and privilege to introduce tonight's next awardee, Her Royal Highness Princess Haya bint Al Hussein. When I first met Princess Haya in Dubai, we spoke at length, not only about Al Jalila Children's Specialty Hospital, which is the hospital that carries the name of Princess Haya's daughter, but also about our shared interest in helping the world's youth grow up healthy and strong. Since that time, I have come to personally admire Princess Haya for her rare and special combination of strong leadership and compassionate spirit. With these qualities, she has become a leading international advocate for children's needs and for humanitarian progress around the globe. She has worked tirelessly to provide food aid, health services, and social services to the poor and to communities in crisis in Jordan, Haiti, Cambodia, Ethiopia, and many other nations. In times of crisis, the princess can often be found at the center of relief efforts, working on the ground to find new, innovative ways of helping those in need. To each venture, Her Royal Highness brings warmth, kindness, and determination to uplift and empower those who are disadvantaged. In March of 2007, Princess Haya was appointed the chairperson of International Humanitarian City, IHC. Based in Dubai, this is one of the largest supply depots for aid in the world. In September of the same year, Princess Haya was selected by UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon as Messenger of Peace. This is the highest honor bestowed by the United Nations on a global citizen. And it is a fitting role for a leader who has devoted herself to aiding the most vulnerable among us. Tonight, I am extremely proud to help the Atlantic Council recognize Princess Haya's contributions to the global community by bestowing a Distinguished Leadership Award. Now, please join me in welcoming Her Royal Highness to the stage.
Mr. Kempe, Governor Huntsman, Admiral Michelle Howard, Your Excellency Jens Stoltenberg, Renee Fleming, and Mr. William Ford Jr. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start by thanking Mr. Newman for that generous introduction. I'm privileged to be introduced by a man who's been instrumental in cementing such a solid bridge between the United Arab Emirates and the United States, and by working tirelessly to do so through a partnership that saves children's lives, through the very best pediatric medical care possible. And in all honesty, I don't know of any calling better than that cherishes innocent lives of children and gives them a start to life. It's really difficult to describe how truly overwhelmed and humbled I feel to be here tonight. I want to express my heartfelt thanks to the Atlantic Council for selecting me to accept this award and for the incredible humanitarian efforts made by the people of the UAE and our leaders. I grew up in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, but 14 years ago, I began to call the UAE my home. 7 federally unified emirates, states that had all survived a harsh desert climate, enduring hunger, poverty, high infant mortality, and disease. Of course, the discovery of oil had enabled the UAE's founding fathers to improve living standards in ways never dreamed of before. But if you look beyond the glittering skyline, it's the spirit of the UAE, its people, and its leadership that captured my heart, and I found there are people in leadership that never forgot the hard times they lived through, and whose humanitarian values and foreign policy were both built on that memory and that resilience. It's no accident that the OECD records the UAE as the world's most generous humanitarian donor as a percentage of its GDP. With a population of only 9 million, in 2015, the UAE government gave $5 billion to aid projects, and when you add private donations, the UAE aid tops $8 billion a year. And everything, absolutely everything, that I am able to do is completely thanks to that generosity of spirit. The ways in which, in many ways, the UAE that I fell in love with is a place much like this great country when it started, a land of dreams, a land of tolerance and diversity, inclusivity. Today, the UAE has the highest percentage of women in higher education of any country in the world. We have an incredibly diverse population from 200 countries with every religious faith, and we even have the world's first Minister of Tolerance. When friends ask me what the UAE has done in the fight against Daesh, I love to point out that during the first coalition airstrike, the lead plane was from the UAE, and it was flown by a woman. But as we meet here tonight, in comfort and in great company, it's around 4:30 in the morning in the world's youngest nation, South Sudan. It will be a couple of hours before the first glimmer of light appears on the northeast African horizon. Far too many in South Sudan are welcoming this day as another day of hunger. There's no comfort in the darkness that enshrouds the world starving. Their nights are punctuated by hunger, thirst, disease in the camps, and the air is thick with despair. I'm often reminded of the proverb that the darkest hour is just before dawn. But I also wonder just how dark the South Sudanese night has to become before we can welcome a dawn of hope. Early this year, the United Nations declared a state of famine in South Sudan. The UN doesn't use this term lightly. It's the first time in 6 years that any country had met the grim criteria for this label. The famine designation only applies to a small part of South Sudan, but 20 million other people there in Yemen, Somalia, and Nigeria are also on the brink of famine. That's more than the combined population of this entire region: Virginia, Maryland, the District of Columbia, West Virginia, Delaware, and Rhode Island. And this is not just a problem for South Sudan. It's a problem for all of us. Famine and war have already created 1.8 million refugees in that region. And hunger, dislocation, and despair are incubators for intolerance and terrorism. Have no doubt, they are the weapons of war that terrorist groups and corrupt politicians use, and it's up to us to take those weapons away. Today, there are more than 65 million refugees and displaced people worldwide, higher even than after World War II. In my native Jordan, Lebanon, southern Turkey, they've all hosted roughly 4 million Syrian refugees. Millions more have fled to Europe, North America, and the Gulf. When I speak to those victims in those humanitarian crises, they tell me that they all just want to live in peace, to love their families, and to feed and care for their children. They wonder why they must pay for the failure of their politicians and others. They ask if they've been forgotten. And this is where the anger of forgotten is born. Places where people have absolutely nothing to lose. The Atlantic Council of America has a great history, and as an organization, it can and does help to make a difference in this world. And all of the other award winners tonight have shown through their dedication and everything they have done what's possible. For me, it's a great honor to be among them, but it's also a great honor to be among people of influence, people like you. I wanted to say that you're not alone in shouldering the burdens that you face. The UAE and many other countries, you will always find willing and credible partners who are committed to humanitarian diplomacy as you are. Today, as in the days when the Atlantic Council was founded, the world looks to the United States for leadership. American involvement is crucial to ending the kinds of conflicts that have created the threat of mass starvation in the East Africa and Yemen, and so many other places of worry in the world. Together, we can create a different future for our children. But I start tonight by thanking you for this award. Thank you.